Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. MCA Secretary General Chung Sin-won publicly declared recently that the party was at a crossroads, urging it to chart its own path after more than 2 years of political drift since GE15. Now, there's even speculation swirling that MCA could leave Barisan Nasional and even join the opposition coalition Perikatan Nasional. So, some of the questions we'll explore in this episode is to see where is MCA heading, and is Barisan Nasional still a functioning coalition, or is it simply a shell of its former self? Joining me on the show today to discuss this further is Neo Chu Seong, who is the Communications Chief of Barisan Nasional Youth and Information Chief of MCA Youth. Neo, thank you so much for being on the show with me. I appreciate that you're here. There's lots to talk about with the party. So let's start with that quote that your Secretary General said recently about MCA being at a crossroads and that the party should seek to chart its own path. Can I get you to respond to that? From your perspective in the youth wing, do you think that the party is at a crossroads?
Well, I think it is fair to say that the party has to make a decision in view of we are already approaching the midterm of since the last GE, and I think it is important for MCA to really plan and also look at how we can revive the party come next general election. So I think we cannot just sit and wait. Of course, as an independent party, we have the right to determine what the future lays on the party and where should we be heading to. Okay. So these are the questions that I think our Secretary General, Dato' Chung Sin-won, is responding to the grassroots, because there are a lot of voices from the grassroots asking what is the direction of MCA. I think that is more important as a leader, I think, for the leadership of MCA to really listen, to really thinking of these concerns.
Okay, all right.
That for me is valid.
Thank you for kind of sharing a little bit about what the grassroots are saying. I'm curious to get into more detail about that. But let's talk about where MCA is now. And I kind of want to take a snapshot self-assessment of where we are at the moment. So MCA is part of the coalition government through its membership in Barisan Nasional. Yep. But in I would say, recent months, even years, since you've been in this government, the party has been quite public in its criticism towards the government, particularly government decisions, government actions, management and the like. So talk to me about that. To what extent can MCA criticize the government while remaining part of the coalition? Well,
I think, as everyone is aware, I think we have only 2 members of parliament left that is currently serving. So it's also fair to say that even though we are the minority in the coalition, but I think our voice is louder and stronger than anyone else. It's unfair to say that we are trying to be more opposition than opposition.
You've heard that criticism,
of course. It's open, it's public, right? But people forget what is the real meaning of democracy. What is the role and function of the members of parliament? They are, besides representing the party, they are also representing the voters, the public, the rakyat who have chosen them into the parliament. So there are different roles. Things that we need to understand is that whether the issues that brought up by the 2 members of parliaments from MCA are valid, are of public interest or it's merely political. And it's very often we can see the issues that brought up by the two members of parliament, particularly Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong, are concerning the real ground sentiment, the real public interest. For example, we start with KWSP, we start with e-invoice, we start with the recent one,
admissions,
UN admissions, and SPM, straight A students who were, refused, to be admitted because of A- and so on. These are the issues that really, really touch and really hit the ground very hard.
Okay.
So, if everyone thinks that all government MPs should just be supportive, and there is no voice, critical voice, to bring up issues, what more when the opposition is at the weakest point?
Right.
And who will represent the public interest?
Now, I think I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not quite clear. So, I'm not clear on what it achieves, because MCA isn't shifting public policy. It's not making any outright changes through its criticism of the of the current events, and you don't seem to be gaining any goodwill from within the coalition itself by doing so, by being so critical. And it could be confusing to the public, thinking, are they in the government? Why are they criticizing the government? So, who exactly is this message for?
I can agree to disagree, but we can see, for example, the straight A students issues. Surprisingly, we have seen we are overwhelmed with public appreciations, thank you messages across the social media, especially in the Chinese social media. I do not agree with you that we are not shifting the policy. For example, on SST, the government made several reversals
because of comments
of the voices. I wouldn't say because of the credit goes to Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong, but is the public pressure. Is the public pressure? Someone has to bring that up so that the government can listen. But if everyone is a yes man in the cabinet, or everyone is just acting as a supporting role to PMX, then he wouldn't get the fair assessment. He wouldn't really get the real sentiment on the ground.
Is this welcome, constructive feedback in the
I think
the
PMX,
government?
To be fair to him, I think he is quite open. He never stopped MCA from being critical towards the government, and he said that, right?
Your coalition partners,
well,
your allies within the coalition government, are they happy to hear some constructive
whether
criticism?
they are happy or not, it's not the issue. The issue is, can we solve the problems?
For the public.
That should be the concern. We are a political party, and we should represent the public interests rather than thinking of the sentiment of the coalition and so on. In fact, that can be better. If they think that they are representing and they are doing their job well, then at least be the voice. That is what public is waiting, is hoping for.
So we've looked at kind of the public-facing side of MCA. Can we talk about MCA's role within the unity government? How do you assess your relationship with other coalition parties?
Well, everyone is aware. There is no representation from MCA in the cabinet. Neither deputy ministers and so on. So I think it's easier for MCA to function as a backbencher now, and provide fair assessment, fair criticism to the government from the backbenchers' perspective. And we have to also understand, I think the voices not only coming from MCA itself, we also seen and heard many critical voices from within DAP, Member of Parliament and PKR, right? even UMNO, GPS, who really care for the public interest, right? So it is unfair to just pinpoint at MCA being very critical against the government. And what more, there are some leaders from the government who can't just take it and accuse that MCA is trying to destabilize the government. I think that is very undemocratic, and that is untrue.
Okay. Is there a serious conversation happening internally about the possibility of walking away from the coalition, the Barisan Nasional Coalition, walking away altogether?
Well, that is another issue, being in the government and within the coalition.
The reason I ask is what role you play now in the government. Is that, so who gains more from staying within this government, and who stands to lose if you do walk away?
Well, it's never our consideration. MCA's view is that we should remain relevant to the public, right? Whether the power, it comes and goes, right? It comes and goes. But the objective of the party, are we for the government or are we for the people. Or for the country, right? If we just think of being in power, then that defeats the purpose of why the party was formed, to protect, to empower, and to unite the people back then, right? So even though I always mention that MCA, it's a Chinese-based party, but in fact, we should move beyond that. At this political generation, at this juncture, we should be more inclusive now. And that's why I said, and we are focusing not only on Chinese issues now, we have to focus on national issues. That's why MCA has to really revive and reset its political path now. So we are at the crossroad, not only whether we should be in the government or not, but we also have to look at the political coalition that we are currently in. Whether that can match up to our aspiration, that can match up to the public expectation, that is more important, right? Because as I said, GE every 5 years, 5 years. But if we just stick on power and not on the real objective, I think we cannot survive for long.
Okay, so we've looked externally, let's look internally now. For MCA, what are they telling you, your fellow members? What are you hearing in terms of the conversations that are being had about, you mentioned at the start of our conversation, you know, the party should really listen to the grassroots, and what is the direction of MCA is what they're asking. What are you hearing about where they want MCA to head?
We can see on public, it's not even a secret that many divisional leaders have came out with a statement that, you know, the lead party should consider, you know, its position in the government, or to leave and to stay. To me, that is at the grassroots level. And we, as a political party, we have the process, and we're going to have our AGM from divisional level to state level to federal level.
The end of the year, is it?
Yeah, by end of this year. So I think good thing about the current leadership is that the president and the current leadership is quite open. Open in the sense he allowed and they allowed the grassroots leaders to bring up the voices. And this has to be discussed at the national level towards the end. That, you know, all national level leadership has to sit down and seriously consider and discuss about the voices, the input that provided from the grassroots. So it's too premature to me to come up with a conclusion whether we should leave or we should stay. But again, the objective.
Well, so what are the options on the table? To stay, or to leave completely, or to leave and join another coalition? Well,
currently, the voices that we hear and we see is that MCA should stand alone if we remain. The formation remains like BN and PH, because obviously there is no space for MCA, right? Because it's being occupied by DAP, right? So we cannot be going or approaching the next GE by only fielding 2 candidates.
Right.
Politically, that is a suicidal
doesn't make sense, right?
option. And secondly, it doesn't make sense. We always talk about check and balance. We always talk about we want stronger voice. We want alternative to whoever that in power. So imagine MCA and DAP are together. So again, who will represent the voice, the public interest?
Okay.
And
so an option on the table is going at it alone.
That's why I said the leadership has to have to really look into this before the next GE.
Right. Yeah, you said that it's premature at the moment to kind of get us a barometer or gauge of what the grassroots are saying. But can we zoom in on what the youth are telling you, what MCA youth are saying? When you think about, you know, specifically young party members in MCA, is there a generational gap between what the younger members want or see the party headed towards versus, I mean, MCA is an old party. It's got a legacy of history and traditions, and you know, steeped in maybe an older generation of leadership.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between? Is there a generational difference?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Instead of jumping into joining the bandwagon and discussing on whether we should leave or we should not, the youth, what we are really focusing is that the future, the direction of the party, especially the younger ones in the party, how can we bring this party forward? So we want to be relevant to the society. We want to be relevant to the rakyat. So we need to really look into our own strengths and weaknesses, soul searching, and really try to bring up something, new dimension in MCA itself. Like what you rightly mentioned, we cannot deny the fact that MCA is a long-established party. It has its own heritage, history, and so on. But what the younger generation is looking at is not the past, it's the future. So to remain relevant, what can we bring on the table to the younger generation? Are we still talking about the past? Are we still talking about the schools, the business opportunity the MCA used to provide, and so on? No. We should be more, as I said, inclusive, progressive, so that we can represent the younger voices. This is more important. So we are in the process of recruiting more young professionals that can be the voice of the future.
Oh, wow.
So we want the party to have, again, objective that really matches the future, the aspiration of the future generation.
Talk to me about that. Are you seeing young Malaysians joining the party? Are you, in terms of recruitment, how's MCA doing? Are young people interested, engaged in what MCA is doing and think of it as an avenue or an option for them?
Well, MCA is still not open to all races. Of course, we have the what do you call it, non-Chinese who can be the alliance but not the direct membership of MCA. But what we are seeing now is that the party leadership is welcoming more young professional Chinese, not only to join MCA, but to be given pivotal role and also freedom to speak. That is very important. We are no longer held by the previous protocol and so on, where there are so many bureaucracy, restrictions,
layers to go through.
Layers, you cannot speak, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I think we can see huge changes now when obviously there are so many new faces from MCA, young leaders from MCA youth, actively involved on social media, voicing out, speaking out for the public. These are part of the transformation that I wanted to highlight. Although we understand that they are young, they are raw, but at least they are given freedom to speak out, to represent the generation, to represent themselves. I think that is a very good start. And what is important is that we need to guide them, make sure that we have real advocates in MCA that can fight
what
for
has
the
happened
public interest.
internally within the party in the past few years that you think has caused this shift, this maybe opening up of allowing younger party members to try their hand or to give them an opportunity? Often in political parties, particularly ones that have a clear hierarchy in place, you know, the younger ones never get an opportunity. They don't get to test their mettle. They don't get an opportunity to prove themselves. Has that shifted in MCA?
Yeah, I mean, speaking from my own experience, I'm a very new member to MCA. I was never in politics. I was a diplomat, so a young professional who really cared for the country and the public at the rakyat. Was given opportunity to come in and to be the voice. Throughout my very few years experience, of course we are young, we do mistakes once in a while, but at least the party leadership never stopped me from voicing out our opinions, our views that sometimes might be contradict to those old school, or traditional approach of MCA. But after years of try and errors, we can see even the current leadership acknowledge that generation has changed. Expectation has changed. Ways of doing things, ways of addressing issues have completely changed. Even the issues have completely changed. Now the issues facing the rakyat no longer just education, no longer public utilities. It's beyond that. It's more complex. So we need people who really understand the society that can represent the party and to speak for the rakyat. That is more important. We can no longer represent one group, one singular group, one singular interest group. No. We have to be more inclusive. That what I mean by inclusive is that the inclusivity should include not only all races, but all walks of life, all different social classes. That is more important.
Right. In the time that we have left, I just want to ask you, because of your unique position in MCA Youth, and you're trying to rally the troops from within the party, the younger generation, but there's a younger generation who's just not interested in politics. They don't see politics as an avenue for change. They feel disenfranchised. They feel like they're not being heard, and they have very little agency in shaping the future of the country. What would you say to them?
Well, I always encourage the younger ones to be politically aware. Political awareness is very important. We understand the current generation. Some might have this political fatigue, and they are not really keen on the political issues and so on. But the efforts must keep on going. We must we must not only engage but empower them to get involved. From my own experience, again, when I reach out to the university students, surprisingly, I think they are more politically aware about what is going on with the country, the policies and so on, maybe because of the the advancement of social media, news, and information, they seem to be aware of what is going on, but they are upset. They see the political chaos, they see the infighting and so on. They think that politics is dirty. And this is the mindset that we have to shift. I always encourage them, look, this is a thing, that is why I get into politics. This is why we need the younger generation. We need consciousness, we need integrity, and we need good people to come in and fix this. I can't change this reality by myself. A single party cannot change this. So we need more, especially the younger ones, that to come in and to really fight for the change. The change is not only the change swift of power, change of political party. The change should be from the culture, the practices, and the mentality. So that comes from individuals. We can't just expecting the political party to change. At the same time, we are just watching.
From the outside.
From the outside.
Neil, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your perspectives about MCA for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and hope to see you again.
That's all we have for you on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.